Welcome to another episode of Saving One Life Yours, a podcast brought to you by tag4life. A staggering 1 in 3 people worldwide are considered medically vulnerable. At tag4life, we save lives by advocating for wearable medical IDs. We do this by offering education, providing IDs to those in need, and, through our Codes for Care program, furnishing free IDs to medically vulnerable members of underserved communities. Today's guest is Kristi Dunn, a liver transplant survivor and tag4life's Director of Human Resources, Secretary, and member of the Board of Directors. Our host and moderator is Ben Weinberg, tag4life's President and CEO. Today's topic is Kristi and her medical odyssey, what led her to join tag4life's mission of advocating for wearable medical IDs, and how she views her successful journey as a way to have a second chance at life.
Hi, Kristi. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ben?
I'm hanging in there. For those who don't know, this is the podcast for tag4life. It's called Saving One Life Yours. I'm a guest host today. I'm Ben Weinberg, the president and CEO. And my special guest today is Kristi Dunn, who, as I get it straight, it's Director of HR, Secretary and member of the Board of Directors and of tag4life. And you and I are the 2 OG members that are
Yes, we
still
are
hanging around. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
So I figured it was time to talk to you about
Great.
your journey, and we'll just kind of take it from there. So tell me a little bit about how you got to the place where you were having some medical issues and what happened.
Well, I didn't realize I was sick. I mean, I knew I was sick, but I didn't think I was sick until I told my husband one morning, do we have to go out tonight? And I was hallucinating, and I thought I was in my growing up house in Spokane, Washington. And I told him everything hurt. He called the ambulance, and then I kind of tried to die a couple of times on the way to the hospital. I had sepsis, toxic shock, all all sorts of fun things, so that's when we really realized that there was a bigger problem than just, kind of bloating and just not feeling well. So my gastro guy got me an appointment with the Mayo, which I live in a very small town in southern New Mexico. So going to the Mayo seems like going to the moon. But it really wasn't. I was so nervous. Once we got there, we started doing some testing, and it turned out that I was really sick. And out of 40, I had a MELD of 32, and they told me to stay close to the hospital.
Right. And the MELD score, for those who don't know, is
Yes.
really a measure of how sick your liver is.
Yes. How sick your liver is. So, well, you want to score highly in most tests. Having a lower score with the MELD usually means you're going to live longer. But as we have found out, the MELD is not the end-all be-all test. But I was really sick, and I had some steps to go through in order to qualify for the transplant. I was extremely lucky and had a friend who has a golf condo down in Mesa, so I was able to stay in the valley and close to the Mayo.
And when was this, Kristi? About what time?
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I first became ill the end of March and then through the middle of April, and then I went down to the Mayo in May.
Of what year?
Oh, I'm so sorry, 2022. So I'm 2 years
so just
post.
A couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we went through everything. I jumped through the hoops that I needed to jump through. I was listed on June 28th, which was my wedding anniversary. And then I was transplanted on July 2nd. It was extremely quick. It doesn't usually work that way, but I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, for sure. Did you notice an immediate change?
Absolutely. It was night and day. It was just the ride home from the hospital. I was seeing the world with new colors and everything was bright, and I was just so excited. Um, I did want McDonald's first thing. I just need to let everybody know that that is not your choice, post liver transplant meal. But anyway, yeah, it was great. Energy was still low, but boy, my attitude and how I felt about everything just was great. Um, and then energy level, probably 3 days after I got out of the hospital, was amazing. I was mopping the floor. Don't do that. Uh, eh, Sweeping, doing everything that I didn't want to before, that I didn't have the energy to do before, that I didn't care about before. And that was the biggest thing. That was a big thing for me, was when you're so sick prior to your transplant, you just don't care. You don't care about feeding the dogs or taking care of the chicken or what the yard looks like or any of that. You just don't care. And then right after your transplant, you care about all of it and want to do it all at the same time. And of course you can't. Uh, but yeah, that
How
was
how
that was the
long
biggest
how
thing.
long was your recovery to the point where you got? I know you felt immediately better, but
Mhm.
obviously there are some things that they do and don't want you to do at certain times.
Right.
How long until you felt you were pretty much able to do everything you wanted to do?
That's a great question, and that's hard to say because I felt that I was ready to do it right then. Unfortunately, my husband did not feel that I was ready to do it right then. And there are certain things that you have to pay attention to with any surgery, like lifting 10 pounds and so on and so forth. Rick wouldn't let me drive until 4 months after, which, he thought that that was what the Mayo had told him. But I would say it was a good, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe a month, maybe if that. I mean, it might have been 3 weeks. Like I said, post surgery, I was trying to help clean the condo that we were staying in, and mopping the floor. I did a bad job, by the way. Sorry, Julie and Wes. But yeah, you find that you want to do it all. There wasn't a big demarcation line where I just thought, okay, now I can do it. I pushed the envelope the whole time. Does
And
that help?
now my guess is in terms of physical activity, you don't really think about it.
No, I really don't. And I had a supremely easy surgery, um, at least for me. As I was asleep, but my scar was fine. I didn't have any problems post surgery except for some other stuff. Um, and I mean, it was textbook. It was everything was great. And now, yeah, I don't. People say, "Oh, how are you feeling?" And I'm fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. I don't identify as a liver transplant patient most of the time.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that you've got some other stuff that even with this really kind of magical passage that you've had through this, because we all know it does that most people do pretty well, but you're definitely at the far end of that curve in terms of how well you did.
Yes.
Um, but even in your case, it's interesting that these major medical issues that come up, you are changed and things do happen even when you're doing really well.
Yes.
So I thought that was an interesting, when we talked ahead of this, I thought that was an interesting theme to kind of explore a little. Why don't you share a little bit of that, as
Sure.
much as you want to share,
Sure.
and kind of how that affects you mentally and emotionally as well.
So Ben brings up a really good point, and we've been friends for a bit now, so we've talked about a lot of different things. But as a transplant patient, or as any person who has any kind of serious illness, you're always waiting for that other shoe to drop. There is always going to be something else that's going to happen. And I have lived not a good life, but well, no, I've lived a great life. I haven't behaved as well as I should have for the past 2 years. Um, and I now have something that can happen. I don't have diabetes, which is great, but I do have fatty liver disease, which in the forthcoming years, like the next 25 years, one of the Mayo doctors told me the other day that it will be one of the foremost killers, or one of the foremost reasons for transplantation by 2050. So fatty liver disease is the lead up to cirrhosis, and cirrhosis is the lead up to killing your liver, and then that's the lead up to either death or another transplant. So I'm now involved in the fatty liver clinic with the Mayo, and I have dietitian, gastroenterology support, and it's not permanent. I can reverse it. As you know, hopefully your liver can repair itself to a point. So I'm starting some different medications, and yeah, but I there's a diet to follow, and I did not follow it. And before this transplant, I was gluten intolerant, and then after the transplant, I was not gluten intolerant. So I tell a girl who hasn't had bread for 15 years that she can have bread. Go figure what's going to happen there. Um, so but the news that it's not irreversible was huge, and that lifted a huge weight off my chest. And it's good to know that there's a path forward, and that I'm supported, in that direction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I have read a little bit. I don't that's not been my issue, but I have definitely read a lot about it. It's an epidemic, and it's an epidemic among young people, fatty liver.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
the people are going. The kids in their like single digits are going into the hospital with fatty liver now. That's a different thing than what happened to you. That's more
Right.
environmental in the sense that
True. I can see
they're,
that. Yeah.
yeah. But it's been quite an epidemic. So I'm sorry you're going through that, but I'm glad it's reversible, and I'm glad that you feel that you've got some power over it. I think that's a big.
Yes. Yes. And that changes your whole outlook with it.
So another question I wanted to ask you, since this is the Saving One Life Yours podcast for tag4life, is you got sick and now you're feeling better, and somewhere in there you decided to make what tag4life is about part of what you're about. And
Yes.
so I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that, what motivated you. And I think it would be great to hear what kind of an idea you use and what you use it for. And so just kind of go on from there. So talk a little bit about your journey towards working with me, which happened about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben and I are part of a liver support group, and we meet every week. Part of the journey when you get a transplant, I think for probably most people, is that you feel this urge to give back. You want to do something to help other people. You want to, because you've gotten a second chance at life, which is huge. Most people don't get that. So the day before, I had been talking with my therapist and said, I need to find a way to do this. And the next meeting we had, Ben said something about starting up tag4life and what it would do and how it would help people. And I was one of the first hands up, and I'm glad I did, because I think we've been able to help a lot of people, and we've helped me. I have a kind of a fancier medical ID through my ID. It's a little turquoise bracelet that I wear 24/7. It has a QR code on the back that if I am for some reason stricken, car accident, I'm walking, I have a heart attack, whatever. If I can't talk, my bracelet is there, and all they have to do is scan this QR code, and my entire medical history comes up, what I've put in, including my transplant, all of my medications, allergies, all of that. And it is so important. It is just so important, because you do feel, and I've gotten past that at 2 years. Not everybody has, though. you do feel a little bit more afraid than you do if you haven't had a transplant or you haven't been really sick, because you know what it's like on the other side, and you don't want to mess it up, and you don't want anything to happen to you that messes it up. So having the protection of the bracelet is one of the things that allows me to be as free and traveling and going to restaurants and walking unaided across the street that I can. It just gives me a lot of freedom. It gives me a sense of protection. And because memory is not one of my strong suits, if I can't remember what medications I'm taking, I scan my QR code at the doctor's office or the pharmacist, and I can just list everything off. So
I'm glad you
helpful.
mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I thought that was really interesting as a way to use
Yeah,
this. Is
it's
kind of offload your own
yeah,
memory needs
you
onto the
know,
cloud.
it's a little embarrassing when a doctor asks you what you're taking and you just look at him with the deer eyes and go, I don't know, but I can tell you. And you just scan it. And then that impresses the medicine folk as well. So
Yeah,
um
yeah.
it's been not quite a lifesaver yet for me, and I hope it isn't. But it's there for me, and I know that it can be.
And talk a little bit about the reaction because you use it with medical people all the time.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what they think in terms of they see it and and what do they say and how used are they to seeing stuff like that? How often do they see stuff like that?
Sure. So the ease of the My ID bracelet is not anything that anybody has ever seen. And I get and I've showed it off in restaurants, I music venues, whatever. I'm like, hey, have you seen this? But there's surprise from a medical professional, and then there is an immediate, wow, that's really cool. And then they want to know, how difficult is it to put all your information in and all of that. And it's so easy. It's just so easy. And they are just so impressed with what that can do. I have a friend that's an EMT and he loves it. So it's, surprised, impressed, and just really, again, amazed at how easy it is to do and what
Very
it can do.
very cool. Um, you've got obviously a lot of time left now to do things in your life and to make differences, as you said. What are some of the things that are on your mind in that regard? I'm sure you've been thinking about that. I know Tag for Life is something that you'll
Right.
do as long as you can. But what other kinds of things do you want to do with
That's a great question.
your life?
So, I have a part-time job now, which is great, and it's for somebody that I really like, and that's good. And then we have the Tag for Life, but I have always been so very busy and haven't had time to work on my yard, even though I'm a landscape designer. Get used to my dogs being around, working with my house, never had a chance to do that. And now, of course, we're moving, so I'll get a chance to work with another house. Um, and just taking the time to do all of the things that other people have taken for granted. And I never realized what I was missing. And now I can do it. I can do all of this. And it's so rewarding to get stuff done that I never even realized I was missing, if that makes any sense.
It does make
Uh,
sense. I certainly understand what you're talking about. Um,
learning the
what
guitar,
happens
just want to
playing
let you know,
guitar?
learning the guitar. We don't have time now for a practice session, but if we did, I would do that for you. So
Thank you.
look forward
Appreciate that.
to,
We can do
yeah,
it. We can do it offline.
sure. Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
sure.
good.
I also play guitar, by the way.
Do you? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
then you
Not
can
as much
help.
as I wanted to, but I do have an electric tuner, so I'm
Okay,
a
good.
little able.
We're gonna work together even more now.
um, we talked a little bit just now about things and that have opened up to you, new avenues of kind of stuff that you've always wanted to do and stuff like that. I think that's one side of the equation. I think another side of the equation that I've been thinking a lot about lately is the people that you meet
Mm,
and the relationships that you build that you never would have, right? It's the same kind of thing.
right.
You never would have met these people, even much less built some relationships. You're nodding your head, so I make sense to me that you would
Yeah.
understand that. But talk a little bit about that and the rewarding nature of that.
You know, before, again, being so busy and not having the time to do a lot of building unless it was within a professional circle. Um, you know, being sick and being forced to sit on your butt for a number of months really helps you get a new perspective. And then you have a new chance at life with a transplant. And all of a sudden, you realize, I mean, for me, I'm 56, and there's some time left. I mean, obviously, but now but now I really want to make the most of that. And I've got, I have developed more friendships in the past 2 years than I ever had time for before. And they're closer and they are more rewarding, and they're not just people that I have to be friendly with because of work. They are people that matter to me, and I've reconnected with people from my high school that, have helped support me, and people that, again, I'm in southwestern New Mexico. I grew up in Spokane, Washington. There's not a whole lot of connection there, but through the different social media tools, but I've reached out, and I wouldn't have before I had time to sit back and take stock of what I really wanted to do and who I wanted to know.
Yeah, that reckoning process, obviously you started it, but it goes on for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
And
sure.
yeah, and it's never in one direction either. You go back and forth, and you think, you're right, right? I'm 59, so I'm pretty close to you in age, and you got time, but you don't have unlimited time.
Right.
So you do have to make choices. And the one thing that I found in my life is that above and beyond the experiences, and obviously starting a charity is a big experience,
Right.
and then all of that, but really the quality of the people that I've met through this journey has really been kind of extraordinary. And it's not I think part of it is because we all talk the same language, and we all have had similar experiences. Like I always says, it doesn't, it's not word for word, but it rhymes, right?
Hmm.
And so there is a level of connection there that creates some level of intimacy, which allows you to treat someone differently than you would treat them if they were just off the street.
Right.
And I think that I've noticed that happening just over and over again. And that's been, if there can be a good thing about this experience, that's what it's been for me. It's
Hmm.
been that ability to immediately connect and be comfortable and safe with people who I probably
Yes.
never would have even met.
Right. Oh, right. Right. The chance that you and I would have ever bumped into each other, pretty small
Very
pre-transplant.
small, very
Uh,
small.
what are you trying to say? I'm just kidding. But now, and not just the transplant people, but I will say the people at the Mayo at the hospital, I have friendships there, and I treasure those, and I am astounded by some of the friendships that I have through that. Um, and again, the people that I had before that I kind of knew, now I've sifted sifted
Yeah,
through. That sounds
I've done
horrible,
that too. I've done that
but
too.
yeah, it's just amazing. It is just amazing. I think I'm a nicer person. Um, I will totally give props to my liver Brian, for making me a nicer person. But I think it's just made me more patient, and realizing that I think that, we both realize there's a finite amount of time left. And it's it's pretty important to make the most of it. Boy, that sounds like a downer, doesn't it?
No, I think it's a natural place to go for somebody who has experienced this. One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot is that, I mean, for instance, the people at the Mayo, they're wonderful, they're knowledgeable, they care above and beyond all that stuff. But even given all of that, they really can't possibly know what it feels like to go through
No,
it.
no,
And anyone unless they've done it,
right,
from the patient side, or maybe a caregiver side, but like beyond their job, like
right,
actually relative caregiver.
right,
I just don't. That there is just no way to understand really what it's like as an explanation, or as
right,
an imagination or something like that.
right,
You really can't. And so that just sets, and I'm not really talking about transplant, I'm talking about major medical issues.
right.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't, you can't explain, for instance, the roller coaster, the mental ups and downs, you can't explain, you can try, but it doesn't, until you do it, it doesn't
right.
connect.
It doesn't resonate,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. And my husband is super understanding, and I've tried to explain, and I had the best caregiver in the world, and Julie did everything for me, but they still don't quite get it. And until, I will say that because my time was blessedly short, um, it never occurred to me until the one day when they told me what my MELD score was. It never occurred to me that I was going to die from this.
Yeah.
And I got home from that appointment and went, I can die from this. And everybody thought I was going to die. All my friends, all my family, everybody thought I was going to just, that was it, kick it right there. And it never occurred to me that I was going to die. Um, and I don't know if that helped or not. I'm sure it did. Attitude is everything. Um, but, uh, um, but yeah, unless you've been through it and know what it's like to be facing imminent death and go to sleep, hopefully for just 5 hours, and then wake up, but you don't know. I mean, you just don't know. And
And that's just a different
it's
experience,
an
I think.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting to the end of this. My question for you is there anything else that you feel you really want people to know about you, your experiences, about working with Tag4life, about anything that we've discussed?
Oh my goodness. Get your bracelets right now. Do it. Don't fuss about. You've
Right.
got,
And for those that are curious and interested, it's tag4life.org,
oh
where
yeah.
we have a bunch of education about that.
Yes. Yes. I
And
always
also the
forget that
ability
part.
to help us out in the mission too. But a lot of educational stuff in there to help you learn more
And
about
that's,
what it is that we do.
yeah. And learning more about what we do and what it can do to help people is huge. And that's of course all on the website. And we are in a spot right now where we really need funding, just blatantly, so that we can do what we want to do. And help the people that we want to help. We're organizing fundraisers, we're doing events.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
I would say that by going onto the website and getting an ID through our
yes,
online store, which is what you're telling people to do, which is I
yes,
agree, that in and of itself does help us with
yes,
the.
greatly.
So
Yep, greatly.
you don't have to plan a huge event. By getting the ID that you need to get through our store, you can help us out too.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
perfect,
But
perfect. With that, I think I'd like to stop it off here, stop the recording, and maybe we could talk a little bit more offline about some things. But in the meantime, I really appreciate you spending the time.
absolutely.
And it was great to get to know us. Every time I do this, even people I know really well like you, I learn something new. So it's all well and good, and I hope you have a great week. And I hope everybody out there listening has a great week as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Saving One Life Yours, a podcast by Tag4life. Please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. And if you'd like to drop us a line, whether to suggest future topics or for any other reason, please do so at contact@tag4life.org. At Tag for Life, we shine a powerful light on medically vulnerable people who, for whatever reason, can't speak for themselves. We do this by helping to cover the cost of their medical IDs, no questions asked. So how can you help? Go to tag4life.org, or if you're watching our video podcast, open the camera app on your smartphone and click on the QR code to get to our homepage. Then click on the Donate button to contribute to our cause. Thanks so much for your support.